This is Timber by Ben Black. A windstorm knocked down two large trees which stood in front of the Chamber of Commerce for 70 years, and the next day the town's oldest tree, a magnolia in the park by the library, began to uproot itself. To some, this was a peculiar effect of the wind. The enormous old tree had been weakened by the gusts and was only now showing signs of toppling over. Others insisted it was a disease, either unknown or uncommon. Whatever the theories, it was unmistakable. The ground was splitting all over the park, and roots were coming up, horizontally through the cracks. Complaints began to roll in at the mayor's office. Roots were coming up through the streets from the park. A hydrant had toppled, and people in the large houses across the street from the park insisted on enacting preventative measures. At least they wake up in the morning and find roots coming up through their floors. After a disruptive couple of weeks and severe damage to the roads, park grounds, and library, which was closed due to the damage, the roots stopped rising. Crowds gathered at the park to observe something which they had never seen before. A tree's life support system laid bare, spread out for hundreds of feet around, each root lying in its own narrow bed in the ground. For 2 days, the roots remained like this, allowing just enough time for a photo spread in the newspaper and commentary by a local tree expert. He was baffled. And then they began to curl up. First, the smaller roots bent in the middle, like a worm arching its back, and then the larger ones, mimicking the small ones, rose in the middle, pulling the roots closer to the tree. For weeks they bent, transforming the park into a field of croquet hoops, to the great delight of the town's children, who ran through them and hung from them like monkey bars, despite their parents' superstitious caution. Some of the braver children even began playing on the tree itself, climbing the high branches, ignoring the city's officials' repeated warnings that the tree could fall over any day. On a day which was otherwise still, a loud series of cracks rang through the town. The tree's leaves began to fall in greater numbers, and the tall hoops formed by the roots began to quiver. The police cordoned off the area, not sure which way the tree would fall. The crowds gathered along the barricade. The tree continued quivering. The ground rumbled slightly until slowly the loops of the roots began to straighten, and with the straightening of the tree rose from the ground, casting a shadow over the town. It teetered on its roots, which then began to move, carrying the massive swaying tree along, out of the park, along Main Street, and out past the edge of town. Witnesses were in uniform of their description. The oldest tree in town The oldest tree in town got up and walked away. In 50 years' time, the town's children will share the many memories of climbing in the tree or enjoying its shade as they will of the day that it walked away. Thank you.